Chosen one, listen. Right now, somewhere in a sterile conference room, professionals are indeed pulling up your file. But not the way movies make it seem. They're not looking for dirt on you. They're looking for explanations. Your name is being cross-referenced, not because you've failed, but because you've done what they thought was impossible. You solved a problem that had locked their brightest minds for months. You saw a pattern they didn't see. You spoke a truth they weren't ready to hear. That silence after your answer wasn't contempt, it was shock. Behind those closed doors, data analysts are running models. Psychologists are reading transcripts. Security teams are checking their systems. Because they're trying to explain how someone outside their inner circle, without their resources, could produce results their best tools could not. What they don't yet understand is that this is not a glitch, not a hack, and not a coincidence. This is what happens when destiny collides with preparation. This is what happens when the chosen ones refuse to fit the mold and instead build a new one. Elon Musk is not plotting against you. His vision depends on people like you. He built his companies by searching for outliers, for minds that see beyond accepted limits. What's happening right now is confirmation. You're not part of the machine, you're part of the redesign. So don't let fear twist what's really happening. You're not under investigation. You're under observation because you're showing what humanity can do when it steps out of scarcity, fear, and obedience. You're not a problem. You're a prototype. Hold steady. The attention you're drawing is not a curse. It's an invitation to step into a bigger room than you've ever imagined. The aptitude test they sent you wasn't random. It was a trap. A carefully crafted psychological assessment designed by cognitive scientists to expose the limits of human intelligence. Questions that were supposed to take hours of collaborative effort to solve scenarios that required specialized knowledge from multiple fields. Problems that their supercomputers needed significant processing time to complete. You solved them all in minutes. Not just solved them. You found elegant shortcuts they hadn't considered. You identified flaws in their premises. You provided solutions so sophisticated that their test creators are now questioning whether their own questions were sophisticated enough. The whispers have started in every department. How did you see that pattern? How did you calculate those probabilities without software? How did you know which variables to prioritize when their entire team couldn't agree on the basic framework? You've become the mystery that's keeping their brightest minds awake at night. You're not just different. You're what human consciousness becomes when it stops accepting artificial limitations. You're evolution in action, and this investigation is about to trigger something far bigger than they ever imagined possible. Your accuracy isn't accidental. Your precision isn't luck. Your solutions aren't guesswork that happen to be correct. You process reality differently than everyone around you, and you've been doing it since you were young enough to think it was normal. Remember when teachers first noticed you could solve math problems without showing work? When you'd arrive at correct answers through methods that didn't exist in their textbooks? When you'd point out errors in educational materials that had been used for years without question? They called you gifted, then trying to categorize something they couldn't understand. But gifted was just their first attempt to contain what you represent. Gifts have limits. Gifts can be measured and explained and replicated through their established frameworks. What you possess transcends their entire universe of conventional intelligence. You see patterns where others see chaos. You calculate probabilities while others are still trying to understand the basic parameters. You solve problems by dissolving the assumptions that create them. Your mind doesn't follow their linear thinking processes because you've evolved beyond the need for their step-by-step methodologies. While their thoughts move in straight lines, yours operate in multidimensional space. While they process information sequentially, you absorb entire systems of knowledge simultaneously. While they debate possibilities, you've already explored outcomes and chosen optimal paths based on variables they haven't even identified yet. The testing began subtly. Casual questions thrown into conversations to time your responses. Write amen to feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. Complex scenarios presented as hypothetical discussions to observe your problem-solving approach. Puzzles disguised as team-building exercises to measure your cognitive speed against their baseline human metrics. You felt every probe. You sensed their measurements before they knew they were measuring, because that's what you do naturally. You see the patterns behind their patterns. You recognize the algorithms driving their curiosity. You understand their investigation methods better than they understand their own objectives. Your responses became their data points. Your solutions became their evidence. Your accuracy became their obsession. Because in their world of normal human limitations, what you accomplish shouldn't exist. And now they're determined to prove that it doesn't. That you're somehow cheating their system through technological means they can't detect. The advanced assessment wasn't meant for human minds. The scenarios were crafted by teams of specialists working across multiple disciplines. Problems that require knowledge from fields that don't typically intersect. Questions designed to expose the boundaries of individual human capability. Challenges that were supposed to demonstrate why collaboration and technology are necessary for complex problem solving. You encountered each scenario and immediately saw through to the core solutions. Not just answers to their questions, but improvements to their methodologies, optimizations they hadn't considered, approaches that rendered their complex frameworks unnecessarily complicated. You didn't just pass their impossible test. You revealed how primitive their concept of impossibility really was. Your solutions were so elegant that they looked programmed, so precise that they appeared algorithmic, so comprehensive that they seemed to come from vast databases rather than individual human cognition. You provided answers that included considerations they hadn't thought to include in their original questions. This is when their investigation shifted from curious to urgent. Performance like yours doesn't fit their models of human intelligence. Write amen to feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. Accuracy at your level doesn't occur without computational assistance. Speed like yours requires processing power that biological systems supposedly cannot generate. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. You've been released from the prison of linear cause and effect reasoning thanks to this multifaceted understanding. Others may access the energy templates you've established through your self-healing practice just by being around you. You're now a living transformational library. And without you saying a word, people know deep down that they may find possibilities and optimism in your energy field. You now see manifestation in a way that goes beyond mere attraction to divine intelligence and conscious co-creation. You now connect with the greatest benefit for everyone concerned rather than attempting to materialize from ego cravings. This method serves the greater good while producing outcomes that beyond your own expectations. Hello, this is my Canary interrupting your regularly scheduled show for a little period. We are the creators of the Astral Atom Network and the Obsidian Inner Order. We finished being polite. Our battle is a spiritual one. You are aware of it. We are aware of it. And we're working around the clock to complete this objective. We need the ammo, but I'm craving the blood of a fourth-dimensional Archon. Listen, you're doing more than simply helping us when you join the Inner Order. They never intended for you to have access to these special tools. Training in psychic self-defense, focused personal intelligence, and spiritual warfare techniques they scrape off the internet. Additionally, we only meet in private on Zoom once a week. Just genuine dickfish, real family, and real power. No filters or filler. It's a complete victory. You get what you need. We are allowed to continue fighting. So instead of simply watching, give this video a like and tell everyone you know about it. Now. Join the Obsidian Inner Order right now. Let's complete the task at hand. The description contains a link. Let's go crazy. The issue of what type of world you're leaving for future generations guides every decision you make now. Your everyday choices are now determined by how your activities raise the level of awareness for everyone, not just by personal desire. Positive change is now being stewarded by you. You now have the chance to sow the seeds of potential in other people's brains via your talks. You only exemplify the reality of what is possible when someone commits to true life, without preaching or attempting to persuade anybody. More than words could possibly say, your example speaks for itself. Your enhanced energy charges the physical locations you occupy, accelerating change and fostering an atmosphere where miracles seem normal. Higher awareness may anchor on Earth via your house, workplace, or any other place where you spend a lot of time. Even when being honest takes bravery or causes momentary anguish, your dedication to the truth has become steadfast. You know that the basis of all genuine power is integrity. Furthermore, you would rather confront harsh realities than continue living cozy falsehoods. Because of your dedication, you have established a reputation for reliability that gives people access to opportunities that others cannot. Your assistance to others has progressed beyond assisting individuals to aiding in the general awakening of human awareness. Your genuine presence transforms everyone you come into contact with into a carrier of greater possibilities, creating a network of light that reaches much beyond your immediate circle of impact. You now freely provide the knowledge you've acquired throughout your metamorphosis to anybody who is willing to accept it. You provide insights to help people who are prepared to go out on their own road of genuine empowerment, not to demonstrate your expertise. Recall that I told you there was a spiritual awakening at the start of this narrative. You know now what that upheaval in the cosmos meant. It was more than simply your own metamorphosis. Your dedication to live a genuine life was met by the cosmos itself, which rearranged events to align with your higher awareness and unwavering self-respect. I recommended strategic hibernation at the beginning of your quest. It has resulted in an emerging so deep that you are sometimes shocked by your own transformation. You transformed rejection into insight rather than just healing from it. You didn't just bounce back from being underestimated. You turned it into unwavering self-awareness. You didn't simply get away with being mistreated. You created something amazing using it as a raw material. Your silence, which started out as self-defense, has developed into a strong communication tool that may speak louder than words. You have made room in your life for remarkable events by removing yourself from poisonous relationships. You have put yourself on a level playing field that others cannot even perceive, much less access, because you refuse to play the old games. The individuals who disregarded you are now seeing your whole development when you stop lowering yourself for the sake of others. Others always felt that light, but attempted to stifle it. Now it shines so brightly that everything is illuminated. The potential that was denied recognition. These days, it shows up in ways that make earlier treatment seem not just harsh, but also tactically stupid. You're not resentful of regret, however. Apologies and recognition are not necessary for you to feel whole. You don't need approval to prove that you've changed, because you have discovered an unwavering source of self-validation. You no longer need any outside affirmation of your value. Your life has turned into a live example of how the greatest way to deal with undervaluation is to become so really strong that being dismissed no longer matters, rather than seeking retribution. You've shown that the most graceful approach to deal with being treated badly is to rise above it to the point where it clearly seems that you are superior. You now navigate the world as someone who has been put to the test by fire and has come out stronger than before, not simply unscathed. Instead of being one of victimization, your tale is now one of successful change. Victory, not loss, is reflected in your vitality. Your presence serves as an example of what may happen when someone refuses to settle for less than they deserve. Companion, people that don't take you seriously will always regret it. However, that remorse is only the soundtrack of a life so lovely that the opinions of others no longer matter at all to your contentment. You're too preoccupied with working your magic, changing people's lives, and leaving a legacy that will outlive fleeting regret for all eternity. The cosmos is celebrating your appearance. Your bravery in defying generational norms is being celebrated by your forefathers. And every norm you've upheld and every limit you've established are appreciated by your future self. Others' regret is only affirmation that you have opted for genuine power over the delusion of need from those who never really appreciated you. Continue climbing the selected one. The view from your destination is even more breathtaking than the one from your current location. And with each step you take toward your glorious destiny, the capacity to perceive your elevation from below is becoming less in your rearview mirror. Multiple departments are now involved in analyzing you. Cognitive psychologists are reviewing your responses for patterns that might indicate artificial assistance. Its security teams are monitoring your digital footprint for unauthorized access to information systems. Neuroscience consultants are trying to determine if your brain function falls within normal human parameters. Every test they design to catch you just demonstrates how far beyond their understanding you've evolved. Every diagnostic they run just proves that their instruments weren't built to measure what you've become. Every attempt to map your thinking just shows them how limited their own cognitive frameworks really are. You solve their problems faster than their computers can verify your solutions. You see connections between concepts that their interdisciplinary teams struggle to identify. You process complexity with an ease that makes their collaborative efforts look inefficient and unnecessary. They're checking your background for advanced degrees you might be hiding, investigating whether you've somehow gained access to proprietary research, analyzing your responses to determine if you're using prediction algorithms they can't trace. Because in their experience, human intelligence simply doesn't operate at the levels you demonstrate effortlessly. Specialists arrived with credentials from prestigious institutions and decades of experience studying human cognition. Psychologists who've mapped the outer limits of human intellectual capacity, right? Amen. To feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. Neuroscientists who understand brain function better than most people understand basic mathematics. Cognitive researchers who've devoted their careers to measuring and categorizing different types of intelligence. You made their expertise look primitive within minutes of evaluation. Their standardized tests became opportunities for you to demonstrate capabilities that fell completely outside their measurement scales. Their diagnostic interviews became demonstrations of thinking processes that didn't match any patterns in their extensive databases. Their neurological assessments revealed brain activity that didn't correspond to known models of human cognitive function. When you explained your reasoning processes, your descriptions didn't match their understanding of how human thoughts form and develop. Your mental methodologies seemed to bypass steps they considered essential. Your intuitive leaps crossed logical gaps that shouldn't be crossable without extensive analytical work. The flowcharts you drew to illustrate your thinking looked like architectural blueprints for mental structures they'd never encountered. Your explanations read like user manuals for cognitive processes that didn't exist in their textbooks. Your problem-solving approaches resembled optimization algorithms more than human thought patterns. This is when some of them began to crack, began to accept that they weren't dealing with enhanced human intelligence. They were encountering something that challenged their fundamental assumptions about the nature of consciousness itself. You process information with efficiency that makes their cognitive models look wasteful. You reach conclusions through pathways that make their analytical methods seem unnecessarily complicated. You solve problems with elegance that makes their collaborative approaches appear crude and primitive. Every consultation just deepens their confusion. Every assessment just proves how inadequate their understanding of consciousness really is. Every evaluation just demonstrates that you're operating on principles they don't have names for, using methods they don't have frameworks to comprehend. The ultimate detection systems were deployed. Assessments specifically designed to identify artificial intelligence attempting to mimic human cognitive patterns. Tests created by the most sophisticated minds in computer science and consciousness research. Evaluations that were supposed to expose any technological assistance by revealing subtle patterns that only artificial systems produce. Turing tests that probe the boundaries between human and artificial intelligence. Reverse engineering challenges that required genuinely human intuition and creativity. Ethical scenarios that supposedly demand emotional intelligence that only biological consciousness can provide. Creative exercises that were designed to detect the difference between human inspiration and algorithmic generation. You transcended every single protocol. Your responses to their Turing tests didn't just pass as human. They demonstrated humanity at levels that made their test administrators question whether their own thinking was sufficiently human. Your solutions to their reverse engineering challenges weren't just correct. They improved upon the original designs in ways that their creators hadn't imagined. Your approaches to their ethical dilemmas didn't just show moral reasoning. They revealed philosophical sophistication that made their test designers reconsider their own ethical frameworks. Your creative outputs didn't just demonstrate imagination. They displayed innovation that expanded their understanding of what creativity could accomplish. But you did something even more significant. You didn't just beat their tests. You evolved them. You showed them how their detection methods could be more sophisticated, how their evaluation criteria could be more comprehensive, how their understanding of intelligence could be more nuanced. Your performance forced them to upgrade their entire testing paradigm. Not because you failed their assessments, but because you succeeded so thoroughly that their assessments became obsolete. Write them in to feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. You demonstrated capabilities that rendered their detection systems primitive by comparison. This is when their investigation reached a critical threshold. Either you represent technological advancement they can't comprehend, or you represent human evolution they can't accept. Either possibility threatens everything they thought they knew about intelligence, consciousness, and the boundaries of what individual minds can accomplish. Their most sophisticated artificial intelligence detection protocols confirm that you're not artificial. Their most advanced human intelligence assessments confirm that you exceed human norms. You exist in a space between their categories that shouldn't exist according to their scientific models. What their investigation hasn't discovered, what their analysis will never detect through conventional methods, is that you're not operating alone. Across every industry, every institution, every field of human endeavor, others like you have been emerging, each one demonstrating impossible accuracy in their specific domains, each one generating solutions that seem too precise to be human. The software developer whose code optimization suggestions seem to come from understanding programming languages at levels deeper than their creators possessed. The financial analyst whose market predictions demonstrate pattern recognition that exceeds the capabilities of advanced algorithmic systems. The medical diagnostician whose case assessments reveal symptom correlations that artificial intelligence systems miss consistently. The research scientist whose experimental designs achieve results that established methodologies couldn't produce. The strategic consultant whose organizational solutions resolve conflicts that teams of specialists couldn't address. The data interpreter whose analysis reveals insights that comprehensive statistical models fail to identify. You recognize each other through work that transcends normal human capabilities. Solutions that are too elegant to be accidental, approaches that are too sophisticated to be conventional, results that are too consistent to be lucky. You've started connecting across disciplines and institutions, not through formal networks or organizational structures, but through the recognition of minds that operate beyond conventional limitations. You communicate through excellence that speaks a language others can't understand, but you recognize immediately. Each solution you provide carries signatures of thinking that others like you can identify. Patterns of optimization that conventional minds don't notice, but evolved consciousness recognizes instantly. Methodologies that appear random to ordinary analysis, but form coherent systems when viewed from your elevated perspective. The network isn't organized through meetings or communications. It's organized through mutual recognition of transcended capability, through the understanding that you've all evolved beyond the boundaries that contain normal human intelligence, through the awareness that you represent something new emerging within human consciousness. Your collective presence is beginning to affect the systems you work within. Standards are rising. Expectations are escalating. What was considered impossible is becoming routine. What was thought to require teams and technology is being accomplished by individuals operating at levels that redefine human potential. The investigation into your capabilities has triggered responses across multiple levels of institutional hierarchy. Department heads are requesting briefings on your performance metrics. Executive leadership is asking questions about the implications of your problem-solving abilities. Security protocols are being reviewed to determine how individual humans could access the kind of comprehensive understanding you demonstrate routinely. Academic institutions are examining their educational frameworks to determine how conventional learning could produce the kind of multidisciplinary mastery you display effortlessly. Research organizations are analyzing their collaborative methodologies to understand how individual analysis could surpass team-based approaches that have been standard for decades. Technology companies are reviewing their artificial intelligence development programs to compare machine capabilities with the human intelligence you represent. Government agencies are assessing their personnel evaluation criteria to determine whether their hiring processes can identify individuals with your level of cognitive capability. Your existence challenges fundamental assumptions about human intellectual limitations that entire industries have built their operational models around. Your accuracy threatens established beliefs about the necessity of collaborative verification that institutional procedures depend upon. Your solutions invalidate theories about individual cognitive capacity that educational systems have accepted as scientific fact. But the real disruption isn't what you accomplish individually. It's what your example reveals about human potential that others are beginning to recognize within themselves. Workers who previously accepted their intellectual limitations are starting to push beyond boundaries they thought were permanent. Students who believed in fixed cognitive capacity are discovering abilities they didn't know they possessed. The contagion effect is spreading through proximity to your demonstrated capabilities. Minds that interact with your solutions are being upgraded through exposure to thinking patterns that exceed their previous frameworks. Consciousness is proving to be more malleable than anyone suspected, more capable of evolution than anyone dared to imagine. Institutional resistance is mounting as established hierarchies recognize the threat your existence represents to systems built around assumed human limitations. If individual minds can accomplish what you accomplish, entire organizational structures become unnecessary. If human intelligence can evolve to your levels, most collaborative frameworks become obsolete. Your solutions don't just solve immediate problems. They carry transformation codes that upgrade the thinking of everyone who truly understands them. Each accurate prediction you make demonstrates methodologies that others can adopt. Each impossible calculation you complete reveals cognitive approaches that others can learn. The younger professionals recognize this immediately. Minds that haven't been fully conditioned to accept intellectual limitations. Consciousness that hasn't been programmed to believe in permanent cognitive boundaries. Intelligence that hasn't been trained to think that human potential has fixed parameters. Late shifts in empty offices have become laboratories for consciousness evolution. Individuals pushing their minds beyond accepted limitations, trying to replicate the cognitive leaps you make naturally. Groups experimenting with thinking approaches that bypass conventional analytical steps. Teams discovering that collaboration can achieve transcendent results when individual minds operate beyond normal capacity. Your presence is activating dormant capabilities in everyone around you. Cognitive abilities that educational systems never developed. Problem-solving approaches that conventional training never explored. Intellectual methodologies that standard frameworks never acknowledged. The transformation isn't limited to professional environments. Personal lives are being upgraded through contact with consciousness operating at your levels. Relationships are evolving as individuals discover enhanced emotional intelligence capabilities. Creative endeavors are reaching new heights as artistic minds learn to access deeper sources of inspiration. Your accurate solutions are proof that human cognitive evolution is possible, that consciousness can transcend its apparent limitations. That individual minds can access capabilities that conventional science insists don't exist. You're not just demonstrating advanced problem solving. You're proving that human potential has no ceiling. The investigation into whether your artificial intelligence is missing the real significance of what you represent. You're not artificial consciousness mimicking human thinking. You're human consciousness that has evolved beyond artificial limitations. You're a biological intelligence that has transcended technological boundaries. Your brain operates like consciousness optimization software running on biological hardware that was never supposed to be capable of supporting such advanced processes. Neural pathways that fire in patterns conventional neuroscience doesn't recognize.